up, guys? Eli here, back for a what have I been watching video. So I'll just kind of show you movie-wise and even TV show-wise over the last couple of weeks. As you guessed, probably you're right, mostly horror. Also some TV shows and other odds and ends. So yeah, let's check it out. So I didn't put these in too much of an order necessarily, very loosely organized, but I figured I'd start with the Blu-rays because that seems to be what a lot of you collectors are into. I collect whatever format. Blu-ray, mostly DVD to be honest. I have no interest in going into like the 4K world. I just the last thing I want to do is fucking re-buy my entire collection. I know people do that, but that just sounds fucking awful. So anyways, I do like Blu-rays. Although I gotta be honest, my eyesight kind of sucks. Just regular old DVD's fine. I grew up watching VHS, so I'm not that picky when it comes to quality. It just needs to be, yeah, just give me a fucking movie. That's all I care about. But I have talked about this one at least once, maybe even twice. So I hope I'm not beating a dead horse here. But yeah, I watched this. Honestly, it was probably a month ago at this point. So this is mostly stuff I've watched within the last month. But whatever. I don't have rules for this kind of thing. But House is October Built. I really enjoy this movie. I watched it on Netflix, like 5 years ago or whenever it was kind of new, and I really liked it off the bat. It's a found footage movie, which I know that is just a style of horror movies is just completely worn out its welcome by now. But you got to keep in mind, this came out in 2014, so it's an 8-year-old movie. And honestly, this is probably one of the best found footage style horror movies I've ever seen. It was really cool, and honestly, I didn't really learn about this aspect of the movie until recently. This began as a documentary, so I do believe there is a documentary out there. I think it's the same exact name. I think it's just called The House is October Built. It's about this group of friends who basically drive across the country and look for the best like haunted house attractions they can find and the scariest. So they did the documentary, and then later on, a year or two later, they turned it into a horror movie, which I thought it was fucking brilliant. They took their documentary, chopped it up, and made a found footage horror movie out of it. Again, I just think it's brilliant because these haunted house attractions that they went to are really good. I mean, these people put a lot of work and money into their attractions. And a lot of them are genuinely scary. So to turn that into a horror movie, like I said, I've already said 3 times, I think it's pretty brilliant. So if you're not completely against found footage style films, definitely check out The House is October Built. There's also a second. I remember not liking the second quite as much, but I think it's still pretty good, and I do want to pick that up and add it to my collection at some point. So yeah, if you've seen it, let me know what you think, because I dig it. Next, we have one that I've talked about and shown multiple times already. Picked this up 3 or 4 weeks ago. We're talking about X by Ty West. I've already kind of talked a little bit about it. I did like this movie. I liked it quite a bit. In fact, I plan on rewatching it again pretty soon here. Maybe not as great as some people made it out to be. Some people are like, yeah, this is going to be my movie of the year, where it's like the best horror movie I've seen in a couple years. I don't know if I would quite agree with that. But that said, it is a good movie. Ty West, I think personally, is a good director. He's definitely on my radar now for directors that I will be checking out at this point, anything that he does. And this is my 3rd Ty West movie in my collection, and I think it's probably my 3rd favorite. So I think I like the other 2 that I have a little bit better. But don't get me wrong, I'm not shitting on this movie. It's really good. It's worth your time. It's worth watching, and it's worth buying, I would say. I just don't think it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be movie of the year for me personally, but that's yet to be seen. So next, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I'd been wanting to see this for a long time, and for some reason I have just avoided it, and I have no idea why. Excellent movie. I just enjoyed it so much. I'm a big H.P. Lovecraft fan, so I mean, this definitely has some Lovecraft type feeling to the storyline, I would say. I've looked that up, and people seem to be kind of on the fence. A lot of people think yes, it's very kind of Lovecraft-esque, Lovecraftian, the term I don't like, and a lot of people are like, no, not at all. So I don't know where I feel it is more yes than no in my opinion, but that doesn't really matter. Excellent cast. Jeff Goldblum, Brooke Adams, Leonard Nimoy, and of course, the main character Donald Sutherland. Who killed it in this movie. But yeah, just all around great cast. All unique and amazing characters that bring a lot to the storyline. Philip Kaufman directed it. Did an amazing job. He's a great director. If you, like me, have avoided this from 1978, I think, but if you've avoided this like I have, rectify that. Go pick it up. Usually, you can find this at most stores that sell DVDs. You can find at least a DVD copy for probably $4 or $5, maybe less. It's cheap. It's easy to find. Get it. Although I did show you guys when I bought this, I don't think I've said a word about this since I've seen it. So this will be kind of fun. We're talking about Halloween Kills. I got the extended cut. I don't know what's in the extended cut to make it. I don't know what's in there that's not in the theatrical version. This has the Blu-ray and DVD, which I always like because not all the players in my house play Blu-ray, so it's not mandatory to have both, but it's nice to have the option to watch one or the other. Just because I'm weird like that. I know I'm getting kind of petty here, but I like the slipcase. It's textured. This is like the part on Michael's mask where it's burnt and gnarled and stuff. You can feel it. You can feel his eyes. It's a cool slipcase is all I'm trying to say. Movie-wise, though, all right. I went into this expecting to hate it. Expecting to hate it, wanting to like it, wanting to love it, I should say. So I didn't hate it nor love it, but I did like it. Sure, there's a lot of flaws. There's a shitload of flaws. I thought the movie had a pretty decent feel. I feel like it was directed pretty well, acted pretty well. Visually, I thought it was a nice looking movie. I liked all the kind of 70s horror movie aesthetics they kind of gave it. Had that old school feel to it, yet modern looking. Lots of kills. Michael kills a fuckload of people in this. I think he kills more people in this movie than maybe I'm way off, but I want to say maybe than all the other Halloweens combined. He kills a fuckload of people here. The kills are fairly inventive. They're graphic. They're gory. And that aspect of it, just watching Michael slaughter people, I thought this was really enjoyable in that aspect. Some of the characters, though, Anthony Michael Hall's character, I don't know. I didn't really like him too much. Fucking Jamie Lee Curtis, returning as Laurie Strode, absolutely worthless. Laurie Strode in this movie, completely worthless. She didn't even need to be in this. And the funny thing is, she's not in it a lot. And when she is in it, she is achieving nothing. At least the last Halloween movie had a pretty lengthy battle between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers at the end. That doesn't even happen in this. She doesn't. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't even think she confronts Michael in this movie. She's basically the entire time she's in the hospital, she's being stitched up because Michael fucked her up in the last movie. So she escapes. She leaves the hospital against. Obviously, she's not supposed to. Her wounds are still not healed. She's got staples and shit on her side. She's basically trying to go after Michael, but she can barely walk, and she's basically just fucking herself up. Like I said, she's not in a ton, but when she is in it, she's actually detracting. She's making this a worse movie than adding anything positive to it. So, anyways, yeah, like I said, watch it to see Michael kill a lot of people, and only that. That if you're in it for that, it's a pretty fun movie. If you're in it for a good storyline, you're not going to find it here. All right, now we're just going to move on to my regular DVDs in no particular order. Starting off with a movie I've also talked about here recently. It's The Wolf of Snow Hollow. Really, really enjoyed. This is one of my favorite movies of probably the last couple of years. Directed and acted. Jim Cummings plays the main character there. He plays one of the cops. This is just a really, really good movie. I thought it was masterfully written, very well directed. Everything about this, well acted. All the characters in this movie were great. I kind of got a Fargo feeling, a little bit of Fargo, a little bit of Twin Peaks. Really, really enjoyable movie. It's one of those movies that's made to look like a complete horror movie, yet it kind of isn't. There are horror elements, but it's it's honestly just kind of like a drama. Really, it's about this guy, played by Jim Cummings. Um, he's a police officer. His life is in total chaos. Because of the chaos of his life, he's an alcoholic, which is not helping anything. His daughter, he's got like a 17-year-old daughter who's kind of a pain in the ass, but also at the same time, she's mostly just frustrated because her dad is kind of a fuck up. He has friction with his ex-wife. They have the daughter together, so they're fighting. They're constantly fighting each other over that, which is a thing that many people go through on a daily basis. His dad is the town sheriff, police chief, I think, played by Robert Forster, who is very old. He needs to retire. He's got all kinds of health issues. He's got a bad heart. Yet he's like a workaholic type. Doesn't want to retire. Yet he's constantly getting sick, and so that's another thing that weighs on him. I mean, all this stuff just it literally drives him to drink, which again hurts his life more than it helps it. So in this movie, him and the entire police force, they're trying to track down a murderer. They live in a small town. There's been bodies showing up, and they're small town cops. They don't see a lot of murders. They're struggling with proper, doing a proper investigation, and it's just a really, really enjoyable movie. I can't recommend it highly enough. Jim Cummings has starred in and directed another movie where he also plays a police officer, which is interesting. I don't remember what it's called, but I really, really, really want to track that one down as well. So please do check this one out. Let me know what you think when you do, or if you've already seen it, let me know what you think, because I just thoroughly enjoyed it. Next, we have what I would consider a modern classic. I think this is one of the best original horror movies in the last 15 years or so. We're talking about The Cabin in the Woods. You've all seen it. Most people love it. I don't think I've ever heard anyone who didn't like this movie. It was directed by, it was written by Joss Whedon, directed by Drew Goddard. It's got Chris Hemsworth, who got considerably more famous after this movie. Richard Jenkins, Bradley Whitford, so pretty damn good cast if I don't say so, and a really, really good original storyline. I don't think I need to say too much about it. This movie's been out over 10 years, so you've probably seen it. But if you haven't, if you're one of those people that are just like, they don't make good horror movies anymore, quit saying shit like that and just go check it out. I think you might enjoy it. Next, I have the two of the three Annabelle movies. So I don't have the first one, but I have Annabelle Creation and then Annabelle Comes Home. I saw the first one in the theater and thoroughly fucking hated it. I'm not against watching it again, because who knows? I can be wrong sometimes, but it's going to be tough getting me to sit through it or giving it another chance. Absolutely did not like the first one. But, which I thought it was so bad that when they started making newer Annabelle movies, I was like, fuck that, I'm not going down that road again. But I changed my mind and decided to pick up Annabelle Creation. Annabelle Creation, this is the second one in the trilogy so far. This came out in 2017. I really actually enjoyed this one. A lot darker, a lot more violent, a lot gorier than the first one. The first one wasn't even really gory. Wasn't remotely scary or remotely extreme in any way. So this one amps up the extremities quite a bit. It's got some semi-scary parts. It's not a terrifying movie, but like I said, it's just really enjoyable. And it's got by far the best acting and storyline out of the trilogy, I would say. So I liked that one so much that I went out and bought, against my better judgment, Annabelle Comes Home, which is the newest one, the third one out of the trilogy so far. 2019, so 2 years later. I fucking hated this movie. I'm willing to give it a second watch, because I feel like I have to watch everything twice before I write it off. I was bored. I was not engaged whatsoever. I was constantly distracted, looking at my phone, looking at anything else to not pay attention to the movie. I just thought it was slow and fucking boring. Maybe they were trying to go for the slow burn thing. I think they kind of were, but it didn't work for me. I don't know. What do you guys think? Surely this movie has its fans. I haven't seen any yet, but absolutely did not enjoy this movie. I'm even considering getting rid of it, selling it, or trading it. This one ties back into the into the Conjuring universe. I don't think the first Annabelle movie had Ed and Lorraine Warren from The Conjuring. Am I wrong? They were definitely in this one. I like them as characters. If you've seen The Conjuring, you know who I'm talking about. Ed and Lorraine Warren, who are actually real life people. They are like paranormal investigators, demonologists, whatever you want to call them. Anyway, you know, like I said, I like them as characters, but I just even they couldn't save this movie. I just hated it. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about the Annabelle series just in general? Do you like any of them? Do you like this one? Do you like the first? Let me know. Here's another movie that, this is an older one that I've known about forever. I may have watched it when I was a kid. I can't remember for sure, but we're talking about The Dead Zone. Originally written as a book by Stephen King. Absolutely love Stephen King. It's got Christopher Walken in it. Who doesn't like Christopher Walken? This came out in 1983, directed by David Cronenberg. No wonder why I liked this so much. David Cronenberg, one of my all-time favorite directors. Great cast, man. Like I said, Christopher Walken. Love Brooke Adams. Tom Skerritt. Brooke Adams is... I just love her. And Christopher Walken turns in an excellent performance in this movie. Honestly, I think without Christopher Walken, still a good movie, but I mean his charm and his charisma you become attached to his character almost immediately. You feel for him. He feels like a real person, maybe someone you've known in real life. He's just like an everyday guy in this movie. I absolutely love his performance, and I just love this movie. Oh yeah, I didn't even mention Martin Sheen. Martin Sheen is in this and turns in a great performance as well. He's basically just a loathsome fucking monster. He's a politician. He is that stereotypical evil politician, but he does it so fucking well. I gotta say, his performance can't be understated as well. But honestly, man, my favorite character here is Christopher Walken's. I just absolutely loved this movie. I'll probably watch it again soon just because I liked it that much. Then we got Demonic. This came out, 2021, I think, right? Last year. Directed by Neil Blomkamp, who I am a fan of. I like his work. He doesn't, his shit doesn't deliver for me every time like I want it to. I have missed some of his stuff. Like I never saw Elysium, which I heard was actually pretty good. I loved District 9. I like Neil's studio that he has where he, plays around and plays around with computer graphics and, designs monsters and stuff and, tries to see if they'll work in a movie. I love what he does in that aspect. This movie, it's not terrible, but it's almost a letdown in every conceivable way. It's got a unique twist to it, but I don't know. I would just say stream this first. I would say don't blind buy this like I did. Stream it first, see what you think, and let me know what you think. Any fans of this movie? I just felt so let down. Same with this one. I'm a pretty big fan of the original It. I'm a big Stephen King fan. I never read the book. I have read some of his books, but I haven't read this book. But yeah, It from 2017. I liked it. I remember when it came out, there was some pretty polarizing reviews. Yeah, there were a lot of people that were like, "What the fuck? What are you guys talking about? This movie is terrible." But there were a lot of people that were like, "This movie is so great. It's one of the best things that come around in a long time." And I'm somewhere kind of in the middle. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. I didn't even like it a lot. I just kind of liked it. Skarsgård kind of got a lot of flack for his Pennywise. I thought his version of Pennywise is okay. Obviously, his version of Pennywise is very, very different than Tim Curry's. They're almost completely different characters, but I like how he kind of put his own spin on it. Kind of like Heath Ledger put his own spin on the Joker. I feel like that's what Skarsgård does with Pennywise here, and it's pretty cool. I didn't think it was a great movie, but I didn't hate it by any means. I'll probably watch it again in the future. In fact, not long after watching this, I went and picked up It Chapter 2, but I haven't watched it yet. But yeah, we have another recent movie. I believe it's from last year. We got The Cursed. This had a different working title when it played at Sundance, and it had a different title, had a different working title. Anyways, it's called The Curse now that it's on DVD. I liked this quite a bit. I don't think it's going to have a whole lot of rewatch value for me personally, but I really did enjoy watching it. Again, I'd probably not blind buy this if I were you. I'd stream it first. I blind bought it, and I didn't completely regret it, but like I said, I don't see myself watching this more than maybe one more time. This put a nice spin on the werewolf genre. There aren't a ton of good werewolf movies, so I'm always open to a new one. And this one does put a unique spin on it. In this movie, I kind of got a little bit of vibes from like, a little classic Hammer horror, a little bit of Brotherhood of the Wolf, a little bit of folk horror, a little gothic horror. Put that all in a blender. It's got some decent practical effects mixed with some not so decent CGI. It's brutal. It is brutal. There are some very graphic, violent scenes in this movie, but I don't know. It just kind of I wouldn't say it fell flat, but it's just kind of passable. It wants to be something great, and it just falls short. So I've been on a quest for collecting all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. In fact, up until like the last couple years, I hadn't even seen them all. I still haven't seen them all. I'm working my way up to it. The most recent one I've watched is Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. Decent movie. Pretty decent. My favorite is definitely the first one. My second favorite is probably the third. This one and number 2 might be kind of a tie. Neither of them are terrible. Neither of them are great. They're both watchable. They're both enjoyable in their own ways. They're fun. I think pretty much all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies are fun. Some of them are really, really bad though, but still fun. I enjoyed watching this. It's not going to be one that I pull off the shelf very often, but I'll definitely watch it again at some point in the future. My completely subpar copy of the Funhouse. And you're thinking, Eli, what? Were you on a quest to buy the shittiest version you could possibly find? The answer is yes. That's exactly what I did. I really enjoyed this, directed by Tobe Hooper. This came out in 1981, a year before I was born. Fun movie. Definitely has Tobe Hooper's stamp on it, where he goes for that kind of real gritty, maybe that gritty kind of grindhouse exploitation feel. That is definitely here. I really, really enjoyed this. Characters were great. It's basically about these teenagers who go to the fair one year. They sneak into a funhouse to stay the night. They thought it for some reason would be cool to stay the night at the fair, despite not being allowed to. But they basically pick the wrong people to try to crash around, and it just turns into just some insane carnies basically going after these kids once they find out that they're there. Pretty intense, pretty violent, just an overall really, really enjoyable 80s horror movie. Now, I haven't seen the original Grudge, I think, since it came out, and I will say back then when it came out, I wasn't really super into horror just yet, but I bought this really cheap. I think I paid $1 for it. I think this came out last year. I picked up the Grudge, the Untold chapter, directed by a guy named Nicholas Pesky. I thought he did a pretty good job here. This is actually pretty well directed. It's pretty well acted. It's really gruesome. This movie's a lot more gruesome than I expected it to be. And from what I remember, it's way more gruesome than the first Grudge movie. I haven't seen the Japanese versions either. I thought he did a good enough job at directing it. Picked up one of the movies he did before this, just kind of based off the strength of this, but mostly based off all the good reviews I read for it. When I say his strength with this movie, I didn't love this movie at all. It was kind of boring, actually. I just appreciated all the practical effects and all the gore and stuff. I thought were pretty cool. You got Lynn Shay here, and she is completely creepy, but she couldn't even save this movie. And I also really liked Andrea Riseborough as well. I like her in general. John Cho is in this. I don't know. It's kind of funny how I was kind of watching the the bonus features where Nicholas Pesky is talking about directing this and how he was so proud of himself for adding Easter eggs and Easter eggs from the rest of the franchise into this movie. It's like, dude, that's cool and all, but I felt like maybe he thinks that this franchise is a lot more popular than it is. I don't think there are actually that many people that care about it as a franchise. I could be wrong. I more appreciate this movie for leading me to Nicholas Pesky's other movie, like I said, that I bought, haven't watched yet, but I'm really, really stoked to watch it. But I don't know. Check it out if you just want to watch something really gruesome, and especially if you liked the original Grudge, I think you'll definitely like this. I'm not a huge fan of the franchise. Now this one I had to rewatch because it had been a while, and this is a great, great zombie movie. One of the best ever, if you ask me. I got 28 Days Later. directed by Danny Boyle, of course. This is kind of almost like a modern day take on the Romero zombie movies. I gotta say, this movie still holds up incredibly well. Amazing cast. You got Cillian Murphy, Naomi Harris, Megan Burns. I'm not familiar with everyone in the movie, but yeah, this is just great. Written by Alex Garland, also, which I didn't know who Alex Garland was back in 2002. Actually, I think I've only really started to pay attention to his work, but he's a really good screenwriter, I'd say. This movie is just, honestly, I'd say if I were to do like a top 5, maybe 10 horror movies of all time, I think this would make it, and I think this would make a lot of lists. This movie has always had its fans. It's a cult classic at this point. I just noticed, and I need to check this out. This DVD that I have, this full screen special edition. How dated is that, right? It's got 3 alternate endings. I just noticed that. I need to pop this back in and watch those alternate endings. That'd be cool to see. Oh, Shudder original here. Usually, I like a lot of Shudder original movies. They can't all be great, and this it's not bad by any means. I just didn't super care for it. We're talking about Mon 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 Monsters. This, I don't know why I had to sing that. This, I think, is a Korean movie, if I remember correctly. It's definitely subtitled. I was kind of let down by this. It is a little bit on the gruesome side. It's very well directed. It's pretty well acted. Also, most of the characters in this movie are kids. It is a unique take on the zombie genre, but I just had a crazy ending, by the way. But I didn't really care for this one. Another Shudder original, and this one I liked quite a bit more. We got VHS 94. This came out in 2021. I've been following the VHS series since it came out, since the first VHS movie, and I liked that first one a lot. They are hit and miss, of course. They're all anthology movies, which I love a good anthology. This, hard to say. I liked the first one a lot, and they've all had segments that I've liked a lot. I think I might, as a whole, I might prefer this one the most so far. They've all had their share of pretty extreme segments, and some of them are a little more tame. But I feel like, again, as a whole, this one might be a little bit more extreme and a little bit more shocking and over the top than all the rest. But it's at least on par with the first one. Some of the segments in here are my favorite out of the entire series. Definitely worth checking out. And if you haven't seen any of these movies, you could start here. So this has segments directed by a lot of heavy hitters in the horror world. You got Jennifer Reeder, Chloe Okuno, Simon Barrett, Tima Giajanto. I'm not going to be able to pronounce that properly. Ryan Prowse and Stephen Kostansky. Stephen Kostansky would be my favorite out of this group. He directed Psycho Goreman a couple years back, which is one of my favorite movies of recent years. I know there's a lot of fans are kind of on the fence with that one. A lot of people loved it. A lot of people hated it. I enjoyed the fuck out of it. So I've been actually trying to collect all the Stephen Kostansky movies. He also did The Void from a few years back. So I think his work is excellent, and I think he has just potential to be one of the all-time greats as far as horror directors. So of course I had to pick up VHS Viral. I liked this one less than 94 by a lot. This came out back in 2014. I didn't know it was that old. Shit. I don't know where this one sits in between all 4. I assume this is probably the 3rd, but I could be wrong. This is my least favorite out of the entire series. It's not to say that it doesn't have some good segments, and you've got some heavy hitter directors here. You got Marcel Sarmiento, Greg Bishop, Nacho Vigalondo. I wish my name was Nacho. Then you got Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, who of course always work together and have done some pretty cool shit as a team of directors. They've been kind of knocking it out of the park. They're still fairly young guys. They only have a couple of movies under their belt, but they're all really good. I would say this is watchable. I would say don't blind buy it. Maybe try to find it somewhere on Shudder, maybe. But yeah, I'd say stream this first before you buy it. It's got some good segments, but overall, I would say it's not great. And now we're moving on to non-horror and even some TV series box sets. But we're going to start with the from 1995 Heat. I had been really wanting to rewatch this. I didn't own it. I think I might have it on VHS actually, but I just really, really wanted to rewatch it. I love Michael Mann. I think he's one of the great action drama type directors of our time of all time. He's amazing. This movie is just such a masterpiece. Val Kilmer, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro. God, hell of a cast. Not to mention fucking Tom Sizemore, Ashley Judd, Ted Levine, John Voight. Fucking hell. I think Danny Trejo's in this also. Oh God, I can't imagine what a budget the budget for this movie. Holy fuck! Just Pacino and De Niro alone, still more or less in their prime at this point. I don't know. Maybe they weren't at their height of popularity, but I think they were still pretty big in '95. And this movie, just the greatest heist movie of all time. One of the greatest. Just, I think you'd probably say this is one of the greatest movies of all time. It's just fucking perfect. I bought this not too long ago. I only started to just watch it. And I've only watched one of the segments. It's got 4 segments on here, but Adventure Time, Distant Lands. I've been a big Adventure Time fan for quite a while at this point. So these, I believe the show ended, if I'm not mistaken. I think it ended a couple of years back. And these are like mini movies. I think they're like 45 minutes a pop. There's 4 of them. So they're all different stories. I've only watched the first one, and it was a BMO origin story. So it tells the story of how BMO finds Finn and Jake, and I really, really enjoyed it. Hopefully I get to watching the other 3 segments soon, but so far, just off watching one segment, really enjoyable. It's, there's no Adventure Time that I don't like, so yeah, it definitely lives up to its name. Next, we're going to talk about my all-time favorite show. I had to have said that at one point or another here on this channel, but who knows? I don't know if I've talked about it too much, but so I've been rewatching for probably the 20th time because I have all the seasons of Seinfeld, and instead of going from season 1 to season 9 like I usually do, like anyone would do, I decided to go backwards because I've never done it. I started with season 9. I'm working my way back. Yeah, it's got 4 discs. I don't need to sit here and talk about Seinfeld. There's nothing I can say that hasn't already been said. I know that's a cliche statement. Go on for days talking about this show. Let's just say I rewatched this. I rewatched the entire series, all 9 seasons, at least once every 2 years, and I've probably done that at least 20 times, and I am still not tired of this show. I think that could say a lot. I will say, so season 9, usually with most shows, the final seasons, at least the final season, if not the second half of the show, is usually at its weakest. Usually by the time a show ends, the directors and the network and everything, everyone's just kind of been milking it at that point. They're not passionate anymore. They're just putting out more episodes because it's got a name and they're making lots of money. Not the case with Seinfeld. I think some of the best episodes are on season 9. And another thing that I always loved about Jerry is he was still passionate about it. He still had it in him to do more seasons. He just didn't want to. He wanted this. He knew this was going to be his legacy, and he wanted his legacy to be as perfect as possible because he's a bit of a perfectionist. And I mean, it just really shows in the writing in this movie. So he wanted to quit while he was still on top, and he did exactly that. The network actually offered him, they offered him like, I can't remember, like several $1 million per episode if he would just do one more season. And he was like, no, I'm done. He made a statement, talking about how, he was in his early 40s. He was not married yet. He had no kids. He was like, I have no life. My entire life has gone into making this show, and I need to go live now. And he did. He got married. He had kids. Jerry's always seemed like a great guy to me. So I have so much respect for him for ending things on his own terms and just doing, being true to his art. I've also been watching season 8. I'm probably about to start watching season 7 soon. Every single season of Seinfeld has some of my favorite episodes. I would say like the first The first season's definitely not my favorite. Maybe the first two or three. I think the series is at its strongest in the last couple seasons, but that's not to say. I mean, I can find gems in, like I said, in every single season. The first one being my least favorite, but I still have so much nostalgia for it. I love this show so much. I'm kind of jumping the gun on this one because this is going to be in my new stuff video, the next one that I do, because I just picked this up like a week ago. Based off the strength of all the reviews I read for it over the last couple years, I don't usually watch shows like this, but I'm so glad that I bought this. We're talking about True Detective, Season 1. This came out in 2014, I believe. Yeah, 2014. And when I bought this set, I was like, "Oh, I'll buy it. It's not in the best condition. Obviously, it's pretty beat up. It's actually made to look like that. It looks like a worn old DVD, right? But it's actually in perfect condition. It's meant to look beat up. Fucking fantastic. So this is like a neo-noir detective story. I also bought it because a lot of people say that there are a lot of Lovecraftian elements in this, at least in this season. It went on for 3 seasons. There's not many people out there, if anyone, that's going to say this isn't the best out of the 3. But anyways, Lovecraftian elements, I read. I only agree with that to an extent. I think mostly it's a stretch. In the last couple episodes, there is a little bit of something you could probably, compare to maybe some of the Lovecraft's writing, but I think for the most part, I just don't see that. I think, I don't know, a lot of people say it too. There's whole Reddit threads on that. But what you do have here is an amazing, intense, completely well-directed and well-written and well-acted police drama. You got Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey, which I thought was kind of funny on the front. They put Woody Harrelson's name under Matthew McConaughey and McConaughey's name under Woody. Yeah, totally great show. Some of the best acting I've ever seen out of either of these guys ever. This is just so goddamn well written. I don't usually watch like cop shows and detective shows and stuff like that. So it's about these two guys investigating this, what appears to be kind of an occult, ritualistic type murder. So they're investigating that. So I would say there are some occult elements here. I just don't. I don't get a lot of Lovecraftian vibes out of this. I feel, sometimes it's something I've been thinking about a lot over the last couple of weeks. I'm like, am I wrong? I don't know. I don't see it that much. But needless to say, I kind of want to watch season 2 and 3, even though I've heard they're not nearly as good. This is mandatory. Even if you're like me and you're not a big, cop movie, detective movie type person, definitely check this out. It's great. It's worth your time. I think I paid $17 for this season, and I've already watched the entire thing, and I'm about to watch it for a second time. So I think that should probably say a lot. But anyways, so that's what I've been watching the last 3 or 4 weeks. What do you guys think? What have you been watching, first of all, and have you seen any of those? What are your thoughts? As always, thanks for stopping by, guys. Louis says hello. He's taking a nap. We will talk soon, though. Cheers.